vegetables and healthy fats. And so for as long as possible, I'm going to try to keep my diet that way, but I'm also going to talk about some things that you can try to integrate into your diet in case we do run out of having those fresh foods, because honestly, we just don't know how long this is going to last and how long we're going to be able to have access to these foods. One thing that's pretty interesting that I've been finding is depending on what part of the country you're in, people are being left with very different kinds of foods. So I usually am very annoyed that most of LA is very vegan because I am more of a paleo diet, but this is one of those times I'm actually really thankful for it because I've actually been able to get eggs and bacon and grass-fed meats that have all been left at the grocery stores, which has been really awesome for me. But I know that people in other parts of the country are saying that they don't have access to meats anymore and that a lot of other things are being left. So I definitely want to, speak to that and talk about what might be accessible to you. But just in general, a good rule of thumb as to what kind of foods you might be picking out right now is you want to pick foods that are going to last the longest. So I find cruciferous vegetables can last in your fridge a long time. Also using different root vegetables. I'm a really big fan of using fresh herbs. As you can see, I've got some parsley here, some cilantro here. I get these little packets of fresh herbs every week. Fresh herbs have a lot of polyphenols, they have a lot of antioxidants, so they're a really great addition to your food. And when you're eating things that are a little simpler, they can bring a lot of life and a lot of flavor to your foods as well as nutritional benefit. Citrus is another food that can last a while, so you can use citrus on different salad dressings. You can make a simple dressing with just olive oil, citrus, you can use zest. You can use all citrus, you can use grapefruits, oranges. There's a lot of tangerines and satsuma tangerines that are still available. Those can all add a lot of flavor to salads and different sauces that you can make for your food. So we'll talk more about that in a bit. I do want to talk a little bit about food safety as far as produce. I've noticed here locally that a lot of the greens are being left. I think that might be for two reasons. First of all, they go bad very quickly. So if you do get greens, you want to use those right away. Another thing is I know there's a concern that is our food infected? Like, is it safe to eat these greens and am I going to get sick eating that? So I've been using iodine on all my produce. So you can soak it in water with about 10 drops of iodine for about 15-20 minutes. And that's pretty much going to kill anything on there. And I've actually been finding that since I've been using that on my produce, it's actually been lasting longer than it usually does. So I think it's killing a lot of maybe mold and bacteria that's already on there in general. So that's one tip that can really extend the life of your produce and keep you healthy. And then with fresh herbs, I like to wash them as soon as I get them right away, let them dry. You can let them air dry a little bit. And I actually store them in a glass with some water. And this will make them last a super long time. And then that way your herbs are fresh, they're ready to go. You can just go in the fridge and cut off a piece of it. You can use a whole bunch if you're going to be using it in a recipe, but that's a way to have that life extended a little bit longer. And then these herbs usually come in plastic, and in general, I'm not a fan of plastic around my food at all, but this is a situation where I'm actually thankful for the plastic. So when I've been getting this, I've been using, I made myself like a little soap wash with some of the Dr. Bronner's Castile soap in a spray bottle, and I've been spraying anything plastic, wiping it down before I put it in my fridge, before I even bring it in my house. Same thing with tomatoes, getting cherry tomatoes that are already in a plastic and still washing these in the iodine is a great way to mitigate some of that exposure that your food might have had. With cooked food, it's obviously not as big of a concern because you're going to be washing it and cooking it, and hopefully that is enough to kill everything on there. But for anything that's fresh, that's a really helpful tip that I've been using and I think is an important tip. And you can get this iodine. I know Amazon is limiting what they're shipping out, but I've been able to get this delivered within a few days. So I think this is still considered essential that you can get. If you are going to the grocery store, I really encourage you not to use your reusable grocery bags right now, just because you don't want to be bringing that, infection back into your home. And try to get things delivered as much as possible. And I'm going to go into different sources of how you can do that, especially all of us with a compromised immune system. We really don't need to be going out, spending time in grocery stores and touching carts and all the other things that get involved with it. So I'm going to share some tips on how you can get nutrient-dense foods delivered to your home as well. So I want to talk a little bit about other foods that I've been, kind of stocking up on and making sure that I have in my home. Again, I'm paleo, so I eat a lot of meat, depending on if your diet consists of that or not. You can put a lot of meat in your freezer. You can just pull it out every day, whatever you're going to be eating. You can thaw it overnight in your fridge. Just takes a little bit of planning, like a day or two ahead, just to keep thawing those things out. Eggs are great too. Eggs can last a very long time, and you don't need to just eat, you know, a fried egg or scrambled egg. There's a lot of great egg dishes out there. You can do it frittata, you can do a Spanish tortilla, you can do a quiche. I have a shakshuka recipe on my blog as well, and I'm going to be sharing a bunch of these recipes with you to have access to. So those are all things that you can do with eggs, and you know, with a frittata you can make it and it can be in the fridge and you can eat it for lunch or breakfast the next day. It's not something that you just make once, so it's nice to not have to cook for every meal and have something that's healthy. And as far as freezers go, also, you can always stock up on, there's some great bone broth soups as well. Some of them are different vegetables, like squashes or broccoli or tomato soups, and you can have those in your freezer. They're super filling, very nutritious with all the bone broth. And if you do incorporate breads in your diet, you can always do some gluten-free breads in the freezer that you can thaw out as you need, or gluten-free tortillas as well. And I want to talk a little bit about pantry too. So if you're more on a whole foods diet, you're not totally used to eating things that come in packages and come, you know, stored in your pantry all the time. You're much more used to eating fresh foods. But there are things that I use on a regular basis that I've made sure just to have a stock of as well going into this. So I want to start talking about healthy oils. So I always use olive oil, avocado oil, and coconut oil are my go-tos for cooking. Those aren't going to be your best oils because they don't have a lot of inflammatory properties that the seed oils have. You don't ever want to be using canola oil or soy oil or corn oil. Any of those oils are very, very bad for you. Cause a lot of inflammation, which we really want to be keeping down with all of this. So olive oil I like to use for dressings. And then the avocado oil and the coconut oil are what I use mostly for my cooking. They're very stable at a high heat. And then also just some other staples to have. I prefer to buy most of my food in a glass jar if I can. I really don't like cans, you know, for the obvious reasons of the BPA and, you know, all sorts of other things with metals that we try to avoid. Sometimes, you know, it's something that you can't avoid. So if your choice is, you know, something in a can versus not having food, you know, you can make that compromise. Now is the time to make adjustments to your diet. But in general, if you have the option, I highly recommend trying to eat food stored in glass. So I've got some shelf-stable bone broth. So this is chicken bone broth. It's pasture-raised. It's gluten-free. And as a celiac, I have a NEMA tester. So everything that I use and recommend, I've NEMA tested. I use these products all the time, so I can 100% guarantee that they're gluten-free if you're really strict with that as well. So bone broth is great. You can sip this. You can use it in different recipes. You can use it as a base for different soups and things like that. I really love using olives. Olives are a great healthy fat. You can toss those in with salads and, you know, really try to switch things up. That way, if you don't have a lot of fresh food on hand, you can use these jars, especially as we start going through the process. Capers are really great, especially if you're going to be having some fish. It can be great to pan fry some salmon with some capers or any kind of fish. You can also use them in salads, or like a Caesar salad is really great. Got some canned tuna. So I try to limit my tuna just because I had a lot of issues with mercury. But again, this is one of those situations where, you know, there's nothing left to eat. I'm going to feel better eating protein and fish. And, you know, I try to be really sustainable and buy the sustainable ones and the ones that they say have lower mercury. I don't know how true it is, but I'm hoping it's true. So we'll see. Hopefully I don't have to dig too deep into that. But you can also look into canned crab, and there's salmon, and there's all different kinds of fish. I know a lot of people with Lyme have sensitivities with histamines as well, so just be cautious not to eat something like that every day because canned fish does tend to be high in histamine. So just that's one thing that you'll just have to sort out on your own and see how you feel. So just be really conscious of that if you are using it. Jarred tomatoes are great, so you know, you can either make your own pasta sauce out of this. You can use this to make different soups, things like that. This is literally just tomatoes, so you're avoiding a lot of extra ingredients that might be in there. I like the Primal Kitchen line of foods because they are super clean, they're paleo, they don't have any added sugar, so I use their mayo as a base for dressings. You can use it with your tuna as well, and then ketchup, you know, you can make some burgers, things like that. Tahini is an interesting one. So this is something that most of you probably never use, but it's literally become one of my favorite nut butters or seed butters. I have a recipe I just posted that's on my blog. It's a roasted carrot with tahini sauce. And if you try to eat it just out of the jar, it doesn't taste good. It tastes like cardboard. I feel like it's really nasty, but you can turn this into an amazing sauce. So it's super simple. I like to use tahini, with some lemon juice, a little bit of garlic powder, some sea salt, and you just blend it in your food processor. And you can add water to thin it to get the consistency that you want, and it makes a fantastic salad dressing. You can do it like on chicken. You can do like a Mediterranean bowl with like chicken and olives and sun-dried tomatoes if you don't have fresh produce anymore. You can do it as a salad dressing. You can do it on the carrots. Like, it's awesome. So no one's buying tahini right now, so I feel like tahini is gonna like have a really good comeback, and like a lot of people are gonna start to see its power and deliciousness. So that's a really cool ingredient that you can definitely experiment with. And there's different nut butters too. So in the sun butter, sunflower seeds, things like that. So play around with those and see what kind of sauces that you can make with those, and have some fun with it. As far as milks go, I really recommend trying to limit your dairy during all of this. Dairy can really cause a lot of mucus. I tolerate dairy very well, but even right now, I'm limiting it just to keep my lungs healthy and my whole immune system healthy. So I'm doing a lot of these nut milks. So I like this Elmhurst one. It's shelf stable and it has 2 ingredients. It's only almonds and water. They have all different nuts. So they have walnut, hazelnut, cashew, I think. The hazelnut is really good. The almond one is great as well. And this is great because you don't have to worry about it taking up room in your fridge or going bad anytime soon. And same with nut pods. So I'm trying to limit my butter too. I usually do bulletproof coffee, but like I said, in general, just trying to cut back on dairy in general. So I've been using the nut pods in my coffee. These are super clean, sugar-free. And let's talk about coffee. I am a total caffeine addict. I'm sure a lot of you out there probably are too. And I used to enjoy going to Bulletproof and grabbing a cup of coffee in the morning, but obviously, that's kind of on lockdown now. So a lot of us are finding ourselves making coffee in our own home. So using a pour over is super easy if you have like no intention of buying a coffee maker or doing this long term. You can get some stainless steel ones on Amazon and you put your coffee grounds in and make your coffee super easy. I do recommend trying to stick with a clean coffee. So I only drink the Bulletproof coffee because they test it for mold, and I'm very sensitive to mold. So I feel really good when I drink that. So I would just say if you're a caffeine addict, I definitely stocked up on coffee because I was like, I'm not going to be productive if I don't have it. If I'm going to be stuck at home, I want to be productive. So that's one thing. And if you don't drink coffee or just want kind of like an afternoon cup of tea, I really love the Four Sigmatic mushroom elixirs. So they have a variety of different mushrooms that can be really supporting for your immune system. Reishi is really good for your immune system. Turkey tail is too. And they have some that are coffee. They have some that are chai lattes, golden milk, or they just have elixirs. And I want to talk about the lion's mane one in particular. So if you have brain fog or any neurological issues, this has been a lifesaver for me. So when I get gluten, I get a headache back here, I get occipital neuralgia, it lasts 7 days, I can't think, super cranky, horrible brain fog. I drink this and I feel completely normal, and it's taken me 8 years to find something that helps me when I get gluten. So if you're dealing with a lot of neuroinflammation or brain fog, I highly recommend checking this out because this has like literally saved my life. So this product is amazing. So yeah, that's kind of a general overview of our pantry items. So, and what I've stocked my pantry with. So I want to talk a little bit about cooking as well. So I know a lot of us are probably not used to cooking every single meal, every single day. So it can be exhausting. So there's a couple tips I have for that. One tip is make double portion of something so that the next day you don't have to cook again, or make it for dinner. And during the day if we're busy and have a lot of extra things going on, being home all day, you can have your lunch already ready to go. As far as meats go, I recommend looking into buying cheaper cuts of meat. So there's a couple things. You'll be saving money, then you can still eat some grass-fed or pasture-raised meats by doing that. And then you can either use your Instapot or your oven to slow cook the meats to make them very tender. So a couple bonuses with that too. Instapot, you don't have to worry about cooking. It's going to do everything for you. And second, I know a lot of you are still living in places that are pretty cold. So by using your oven to slow cook something for a while, you can heat up your house that way and save on your energy costs now that you're home all day as well. So there's a couple perks to using the cheaper cuts of meats with lots of savings that way. And as far as nutrient density goes, now is a good time for as long as we can to try to get foods that are as nutrient dense as possible for us. So that means, trying to stick to grass-fed meats, and maybe using those cheaper cuts of meat so that you can continue to have the grass-fed meats for longer. Sticking to wild fish has a lot of good healthy fats, omega-3s that are going to be really good for inflammation and keeping that down. You know, making sure you do the healthy fats, sticking to these kinds of oils and not the seed oils. And veggies, I know it's going to be hard to keep getting fresh veggies for a long time. If you have the freezer space, get some frozen veggies. My freezer is tiny, so I'm prioritizing meats, but prioritize whatever food is going to make you feel the best and you have the space for. One thing with veggies is most places have this available, a community supported agriculture box. It's a CSA box. So for us locally, we use Farm Fresh to You, but most people are able to find one in their area. My parents just signed up for one up in Portland. There's another national brand called Imperfect Produce. And the produce just isn't pretty. It has like some deformities, but there's nothing wrong with the food other than the way it looks. And so that can be another one that's a cost savings, but you're still getting organic produce delivered to your house. So that's a great way to make sure you're still getting your veggies in. And again, the herbs. The herbs are a game changer. They have so many nutrients in them. They're so easy to use. Like parsley itself is rich in vitamin A, C, and K. So that's really going to enhance your immune system. It's good if you have asthma. It's good for your lungs. So this is a great herb to be incorporating into our diet right now. Again, also it reduces inflammation. And then we've got cilantro, which hopefully you're not one of the, I don't know what the percentage is, but there is a small portion of people with a gene that it tastes like soap. So if you're one of those, this is out for you. But if you're not, try to incorporate some cilantro into your diet. It's a strong antioxidant. It's also really good for anxiety, which I think we can all use a little bit of right now. So those are two great herbs. And then, you know, just other ones like oregano and mint and thyme and dill. Those are great herbs that you can just put into dressings and salads and get those health benefits in there. And you're probably wondering, like, what else do I do with herbs? What kind of recipes do I use with them? So one of my go-tos for especially parsley or cilantro is when we have meat, we like to make like a little chimichurri sauce. So you can use a food processor, you can chop it up, or you can do it by hand, whatever's easier. Throw in some of those other herbs, a little bit of garlic, salt, and some olive oil. You can either just whisk it together, or you can emulsify it in a food processor. So that's something that we make all the time with our meat. You can also do a mango and cilantro salsa. If you're having some seafood or shrimp is really great. You can turn that into tacos. You can do a pico for tacos, or just a side salad with some tomato and cilantro is really great. I'm going to be making a tabbouleh, a grain-free tabbouleh salad that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So that's another recipe where you can get a lot of these fresh herbs in. And also just to keep it simple, you know, if you do a side salad or side tomatoes, you can just chop some fresh herbs on that as well. So I want to talk about a few other ways to reduce inflammation that you might be getting through your inflammatory foods. So this is a time that you really want to try to lower the inflammation. We already have inflammation from Lyme and mold and whatever else is affecting us. So the only thing we really still have some control over is our diet and what we're doing. So you really want to try to reduce the factory farm meats. Like I said, a good way to work around this is to get those cheaper cuts of meat that are still grass-fed to be able to offset the cost of the additional buying the grass-fed meats. You want to avoid processed foods, dairy, sugar, seed oils, all the bad guys, soy, all that stuff. This is not a time to be trying to incorporate that into your diet. All of us have one thing that affects us more than the other. For me, I find grains are the things that really kind of set my body off. So those are going to be the things that I avoid the longest. I might have to make concessions on some of these other things, but whatever it is for you personally that really sets your body off, just try to avoid that at all costs through all of this. And so in general, you know, the foods that seem to be left, at least for me in my grocery store, and this might be different, like I said, wherever you are, is the fresh herbs. You know, the least used nut butters, and then, you know, those heartier vegetables. We also seem to be having a lot of plantains and bananas left over. So, you know, fried plantains are a delicious recipe. You can use coconut oil to fry those. You can make a plantain pancake recipe. I'm going to be working on one this week because I have some plantains. So I'll be sharing that on my blog later this week for you guys to use. You can make it super simple. I'm trying to do things with the least ingredients possible to be sharing with you guys right now. Like I said, doing the frittatas, you know, using those odd cuts of meat. Like, I think when I went to Whole Foods the last time I went food shopping, they had like beef shake. I'm like, I've never made anything with this, but I got it and I made a recipe on my blog for you guys because I can't be the only grocery store that has beef shank left. And so it gives you a way to use these odd meats. Same thing with ribs, things like that. Like all these obscure meats that I usually never buy, but now's the time to try to use them. So working with modifying recipes, I know, there's gonna be recipes out there that you're gonna wanna make and you're gonna wonder, how do I work with what I have? Like I'm missing all these ingredients, so I can't make this recipe. But really, if you're keeping recipes pretty simple, the modification should be pretty easy. Having these staples in your jars is going to be really helpful. So if the recipe calls for tomatoes and you don't have any, you can use some sun-dried tomatoes that might be in a jar, or even use some of the whole tomatoes that come in the jar. Olives are a great replacement for different foods as well too. So a lot of these jarred staples can really come in handy during this time instead of using all the fresh foods. Having those frozen veggies, or even having some of these vegetables in jars or in cans also can come into play. So that's gonna be helpful. If you need to use dried herbs, you can. There's a couple things I want to talk about that. A lot of spice companies actually radiate their spices, and they do that to kill mold and kill toxins in it. But what happens is it kills all the nutrients from those spices. So when you're using these dried spices, you're not really getting any of the benefits from it that you could be getting. There's 2 brands out there that I know of that don't do that. One of them is Wandering Palate spices and Spicely. So I use Spicely because they're certified gluten-free. I've never had a reaction to any of their spices. They don't irradiate their spices. None of them have ever gone moldy that I've seen, or hope, at least I hope, right? So those are something that if you can't find the fresh herbs, you can use those, and I suggest trying to find the more nutrient-dense ones. And then bananas, like I mentioned, everyone seems to have bananas still. I had some, they went bad, so I just whipped up a banana nut bread recipe, a paleo one. I just shared that on my blog as well with a video how to make it, to try to make it as simple as possible. So lots of things that you can do as your food is starting to turn bad. Just get creative, look for recipes. There's a Facebook group I'll share also with you guys at the end. It's called, I forget the name of it, but it's basically called like Don't Let It Rot. So it's what people are doing, being creative with like food that's about to go bad and what they're making with it, and sharing recipes. So that can be a really great place to exchange recipes and get ideas for something that you have that you don't want to go to waste. So yeah, and then I want to talk a little bit about sourcing food without having to leave your home. I haven't left my house in 2 weeks. I'm scared to go out, honestly. I really don't want to put myself at risk anywhere, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way with our immune systems. So some places that I've been able to still source ingredients from and have it delivered is Thrive Market is a great place. I really like Thrive because they let you shop by value. So if you're vegan or paleo or keto or gluten-free, you can filter by those items or by that diet, and it can show you all the products. They are taking a little bit longer to ship, but they're still shipping, so that's great. So you can still place an order with them. Meats and seafoods, I usually would go to Belcampo, which is my local butcher shop, but I haven't gone out to do that. So I've been buying my meat online. I use ButcherBox, which is all grass-fed, all pasture-raised meats. US Wellness Meats is another great one. There's a new one I just discovered called Moink, it's M-O-I-N-K. Also does grass-fed meat, so any of those are a great resource to just have that delivered to your house and not have to go out. For seafood, there's some great wild seafood sources as well. There's Wild Alaskan Fish Company and Vital Choice, and I'm going to be sharing all this with you guys at the end, so you don't need to take notes on all this. I have a blog covering all of this, but just so that you know that there are sources available that you don't have to leave your home. And produce, I already talked about a little bit, the CSA box. Look into the imperfect produce one. I know that one's nationwide. If you don't have one local, that might be an option for you. There's another website called nuts.com that's really great. So they have a huge gluten-free section, and it's all certified gluten-free. I've ordered tons of stuff. I used to test it all in my NEMA sensor at first because I was paranoid, and like, knock on wood, I've never had an item that was had gluten in it. So they have all kinds of nuts. They have dried fruits that can be really good to snack on. They have nut flours. That's where I got these nut milks as well. They have grains if you're doing any gluten-free grains. They have a huge selection, and they ship pretty quickly as well. And then another option is, I know it's like hard to have to cook every single meal, so there are some healthy options that are out there of meals that are already pre-made. So there's Paleo on the Go is a great one. They have a keto collection. They have an AIP collection if you're on a more restricted diet. And they send you the food on dry ice and it's ready to go. You just thaw it out and heat it up. And it's super clean, super healthy. And then Cauliflower Foods also has their cauliflower pizzas that they ship out if you want a pizza night, if you want something a little bit healthier. So those are all options. And then if you guys have Instacart in your area, I highly recommend that. I think I read today actually that they might be going on strike because they haven't been supporting them. So I'm a little hesitant to order on there after seeing that. So that's an option if you're really desperate and need some groceries delivered. I think it's still better than going to the store. And again, kind of going through like a disinfecting process before you bring your food in, which I'll go over what I do here in a minute. And then another thing is like buying a lot from your favorite brands just directly. So like I mentioned, I use like the Primal Kitchen mayo all the time and like their ketchup and things like that. And I ordered it and literally in 2 days it showed up. So a lot of times like working directly and supporting these smaller brands on your own and just ordering directly from them, the items are arriving much more quickly. And then you're supporting them instead of some of these bigger companies as well, which I always like to do. And if all else fails, there's always Amazon as well, even though they're limiting, I think, what they're shipping out now. But, you know, that's another place that you can always kind of look and see if there is anything available. And then don't forget about your pets. Make sure you guys have pet food and pet supplies and any medication that you need for your pets, and also any medications that you might need as well. Make sure you stock up on that and have everything you need. And supplements and, you know, all that good stuff to keep you healthy as you can through all of this. So I want to talk a little bit about package delivery and safety. So when we've been getting our packages, we kind of let them sit outside for about a day or so to supposedly after 24 hours it's not alive on cardboard anymore. So we let them sit, and then I have the soap spray or an alcohol spray that I made that I kind of spray everything down. I wear a mask, I wear gloves, and then disinfect things before I bring them in. Same thing with the groceries. Just try not to bring any of your packages inside the house. I think is a really safe way to kind of address it. You know, open whatever you can outside. Don't bring it in. And then make sure to wipe down your doors, your sinks, your refrigerator handles, all the commonly used handles, at least, you know, once or twice a day, just to make sure that those are staying clean too, in case you accidentally touch something after opening a package or bringing something in. Better safe than sorry. I was joking with a friend the other day. I was like, I'm so glad I worked on my OCD for years to try to calm it down for it to just come raging back in like 1 week. So I guess it's a good skill that I still have it there, even though it's been kind of quiet, but yeah, kind of annoying to have it all back. So yeah, so that's kind of my kitchen protocol rundown, how I'm staying healthy. So I want to switch gears a little bit and switch to show you guys how to make one of my recipes. But I'm happy to answer any questions on the first half of what I went over while I'm getting set up.
That's what you do. So, right?
Does anyone have any questions?
Anyone? Don't be shy. No, that was awesome, though. I mean,
Cool.
I can totally relate to what you were saying about the the OCD coming rushing back, and how it's actually a good skill right now because we think of every little thing like you just went over. That was awesome.
Totally. I know. Like, I guess it's good that it's still in there. It's not gone completely. So now's the time to use it, right?
Yep, exactly. So helpful, though. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And if you guys think of any questions while after this demo, we can talk about it too.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
The one the product or whatever I love that I can't talk. You were talking about the brain fog, and it really helps you.
The Lyme.
What was that?
So it's I don't know if you can see the package. It's kind of bright over there, but it's the 4-sigmatic lion's mane elixir. So it doesn't have any caffeine or anything. It's just the lion's mane, mint, rosehip, rhodiola, and a little bit of stevia. So you can steep this kind of like a tea almost. I put it in my coffee in the mornings, especially if I've been glutened. I put it in my coffee and blend it, but it helps so much. But yeah, 4-sigmatic lion's mane elixir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And it'll be in the blog that I share with you guys too.
Cool.
All right. So, everyone can see this okay? All right, so today we're going to be making a grain-free tabbouleh salad. So typically tabbouleh has bulgur, which is wheat, which is a big no-no for all of us with the gluten-free diet. So in place of that, I use cauliflower rice that I made, and I let it cool already because it's going to be more of a salad, so we don't want it to be hot. So we're going to be using fresh tomatoes. We've got some fresh cucumber that's been diced, and I like to use the small, skinny Persian ones because they're a little crunchier. Got a bowl full of parsley, so that's one bunch of parsley that's been chopped. And then the dressing is what's really going to tie it together. So we've got some extra virgin olive oil, got some lemon, garlic and onion powder. I've got fresh dill, fresh mint, and then some lemon zest and a little bit of sea salt. So it's pretty simple. If you don't have one of the fresh herbs, you know, again, you can use the dried herbs, you can omit it. Parsley, I bet you every grocery store in America has parsley right now, so this one should be pretty easy. Tomatoes have been super easy for me to find as well, and same with cucumbers. So this is all stuff that I've gotten at the grocery store within the past week or so. So this hopefully is something that you can all find. And then for the cauliflower rice, you can do a couple different things. You can buy it already riced but fresh. You can buy it frozen and cook it, or you can get a head of cauliflower, and if you have a food processor, you just put it in with the blade, chop it up into a rice, and it's ready to go. It takes about 3 minutes to do. So super versatile, super easy to ways to source that as well. And then to cook it, I just cooked it in a little bit of olive oil, avocado oil, and I put a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, and some salt, and just sauteed it, and that was it. So this whole meal can come together in 10 minutes or less, and it's super easy. And you can do this as a side if you're trying to get more of a vegetable dense meal or salad. You can just do this as a whole salad as well. And you can add things in. You can add things in like capers if you wanted to. You can add in some Kalamata olives if you wanted to. I'm trying to keep it pretty classic and simple today, but those are all things that you can get creative and add into as well. So we're going to start with our dressing. So like I said, we've got our olive oil here, and then we're just going to add in some fresh lemon. This is about 1 lemon squeezed. I've got my lemon zest. And that's about 1 lemon that I just zested as well. We've got some onion powder and garlic powder. And then this is the fresh dill, and I just chopped it. Just kind of like a rough chop off the stems. And same with the mint. The mint, you just stack up the leaves and you can just slice all the leaves at once, so it's pretty easy. And we've got sea salt. And that's all you need to do for the dressing. You can just use a whisk. You can whisk it together. And you can either put the mint in the main salad or here. I like to put it in the dressing because then it's going to coat everything a little bit better and move around when it's finely chopped like that. And then we've got our tomatoes here. So these are quartered tomatoes. They're cherry tomatoes. So I like to just cut them in 4s. And I'm going to add in our parsley. And I'm going to go ahead and toss this first just to get this kind of mixed in there. And you can use a fork. You can use whatever you want to kind of mix it around. And then I'm going to add our cucumbers that have been diced as well. And again, just try to get this combined as much as possible. And then at the end, we're going to add in our head of cauliflower that's been riced and cooked with the seasoning. And this one, again, you're just going to stir it through. I think using a fork is really easy because then the rice kind of goes through the fork and really mixes in there. So when it's mixed, it should look pretty close to this. And our dressing is ready to go, so we're just going to give it one last little whisk. And then you can just pour it on the whole salad. And again, just give it a good mix. Make sure it's combined. Depending on how big your salad is and how kind of dressed you like your salad, you can always add a little bit more olive oil, a little bit more lemon. You don't need too much because this has so much flavor that really just a little bit goes a long way with it. But that's always an option if you want to do more or less of the dressing. And that is it. Your salad is done. So super easy. You can usually find these ingredients in the store still. If you're getting your CSA box, you should be able to find these ingredients in your CSA box. And yeah, it's a super nutritious meal. Everything's cooked. It keeps pretty well, so you can always make it.
If you want it to keep even longer, you can just keep the dressing on the side and just keep the food kind of mixed together and then just dress it like the next day as well. Just dress what you're going to use at a time. But yeah, this is a great side. We'll probably have this for dinner now because it's already made and ready to go. So super, super easy. And you can do the same thing with, cilantro, make the different salads with cilantro. Parsley, I'm going to work on some more recipes with a lot of these herbs just to make things easy for you guys. But yeah, pretty easy to put something together. You didn't even really have to cook except for the cauliflower rice, and that took 5 minutes. So if I can cook it, anyone can cook it. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have or any other tips that you're looking for. If you have an ingredient that you're not quite sure what to do with that you see around the store a lot, happy to give any ideas or recommendations on what you can do with it as well.
Thank you so much, Erika. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
Both the tips and the recipe, very helpful. And I like the idea of going herb forward or herb heavy, and that those are very healing for us. So I think that's awesome. So the more we can incorporate those herbs, the better. Does anybody have any?
Absolutely. They're so easy to find right now. Like no one's using them. So
yeah,
they're so nutrient dense and so powerful that I think this is a great opportunity to learn how to incorporate those into our diets.
definitely. Any thoughts or questions from anybody else? Feel free.
Erika, what are you using to wash your the herbs and vegetables now? I think you had mentioned spray or
the iodine.
Oh, the iodine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I get a big bowl like this, like soak like your cherry tomatoes or cucumbers and things like that. You can fill it with water. Put about 10 drops in and then let it soak for about 15-20 minutes. With the herbs, you can just use like a bigger pot to soak them in. And then I just rinse them and then let them air dry outside on my counter for a little bit. And then I put them in the glass of water to store them. So this has literally been in my fridge by like 2 weeks. And you can see how healthy it still is. Yeah, so they can last a long time.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys?
I just got a question in the chat, so let me just relay that to you. So it says Erika's website has codes for discounts on all of these products too, which is nice. So that's a great thing to know. And then someone else just said great tips. So I just wanted to pass that on to you.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you can check out my website. Lots of discount codes on there for all this stuff. I have a blog post on all the food that I talked about and sourced and like links where to get that. So that should make it easy for you. I have another blog on how to keep your immune system healthy with like different tips and the supplements and stuff I'm taking too to stay healthy in all of this. So you can check all of those out as well.
Yep, and also someone said thank you for the great video, so helpful. Let's see. So much, yes, lots of information. Thank you. Lots of people are saying thank you. So I guess they're being shy about jumping on, but yeah, very helpful. And you said,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and Erika also sent me, like you said, the links to a bunch of other great stuff, which we'll send out in a follow-up email. And also, if anyone wants this video, if you could send right at, let me see what email address. I think it's just info@rideoutlyme.org. If you could send us your email and we will send you the recording of this if you are interested in watching this again or wanting to share it. That would be great.
Yeah, thank you. Such good information.
Yes.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me or reach out on Instagram, ask me any questions. Or if you have like an obscure ingredient that you have a lot of or found and you're like, what can I make with this? Let me know and I'll give you some creative ideas, or maybe I'll put a blog recipe together for you too. We'll see. Depends what it is and if I have it.
Cool.
Well,
That
thank you
sounds
so
great.
much, Erika.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. And everyone
Stay
stay
safe and
well.
healthy.
Yeah, you too. And we look forward to seeing everyone next week.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much, Erika.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.